All right, we're going to go ahead and get started this evening. Hello, everybody, and good evening, and welcome to the very first webinar of the Fall Central series for Blue Water College Access Network. I'll be your host this evening. My name is Nick Boudre. I'm the Career and College Consultant at St. Clarissa and also representing Blue Water College Access Network, otherwise known as BWCAN. I'm going to share the presentation to get us started this evening and have some housekeeping items to take care of before we get to our presenters. So as you saw as you entered the room, just a few reminders, all participants' videos and audios are muted. If you would like to see the speaker view when myself is speaking or our presenters, you can go up to the upper right-hand corner and change from gallery to speaker when the presentation is not being shared. Throughout the presentation, you can develop questions. If you scroll down to the bottom of the presentation, you can see the chat tool. And you can enter a question at any time via the chat. If you'd like to direct it at myself or one of the presenters, just go ahead and put our first name and the question that you have for us. And following the presentation, we will have a question and answer period to answer your questions this evening. My partner, Rachel, will be asking those questions at the end. Our formats can be very simple. We want to give you updates and information in about a 30 minutes or so format, and then have enough time for questions, get you out of here at a decent time. Also, for the 11th graders and 12th graders from St. Clair County, we have our scholarship drawing that is part of the Community Foundation Scholarship. So we'd like to see your name. So if you go down and read the directions that are in front of you right now, if you go to participants and move your mouse over your name, you can go to more and put your first and last name as well as grade and then click OK. And then that'll show up in the participation bar. I'm gonna give you a couple minutes to do that because I know a couple people just entered the room, and then we'll get started. All righty. Once again, as I mentioned, the College Applications Essay webinar is part of our Fall Essentials webinar series. With the recent changes going into this fall school year, we wanted to put together a series that's going to provide you with a free and safe way to get vital information and updates on the topics that you need to plan for your career in college after graduation. This is our first of a four-part series that we'll be starting with this evening. And have two wonderful guests that are going to deliver a perspective from a four-year university as well as a community college. The college application process has changed over the years. One of the directors of admissions at a renowned university said that it's changed more in the last 3 months than it has in the last 50 years. Many students are concerned about applying with delayed scores for their SATs, missing grades to the pass and fail, and then are also missing opportunities such as extracurricular activities. Our first speaker this evening will be giving us perspective from a four-year university, Caitlin Upton. Caitlin's a good friend of ours. Caitlin served as a college advisor at Capac High School for 2 years for Michigan State College Advising Corps prior to moving on to her job at U of M, Michigan with the Wolverine Pathways program. To do a little bit of bragging in terms of Caitlin, while she was at Capac High School, she was nominated at the College Advising Corps Board CEO Board, as well as she was nominated for a Lorian T. and Peter M. Gower True North Award for exemplary service, as well as a summer success coach here at St. Clarissa. Further ado, I'm going to get Caitlin brought up here to present, and then we'll hear from Caitlin.
Hello.
Hi, Caitlin. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Great. Caitlin, thank you so much for joining us. I was doing a little bit of bragging about all your accomplishments when you were at Capac High School. And we really would like to get a perspective on the four-year universities that admissions process. I know you're fairly new to U of M, but you have extensive knowledge in this area. So the admissions process, it's a very traditional topic, college applications and essays. Just to get us started today, where would students in St. Clair County get started? How many schools should they be applying to? And what does a list look like?
I always talk about applying to college like trying to find a pair of jeans that you like. So when you're looking for a pair of jeans, you might first look at what kind of style you want, and then you look for the size that you need, and then you might still like try it on to make sure that it fits you. Coming up with a college list, it should be, you should consider things like social aspects that you want in a college. So that would be like the style of the jeans. Is a big college important to you? Would you feel more comfortable with something small? Is the religious affiliation of a college important to you? Do you want a private college or a public college? Um, is school culture important? Are you going to commute there or live on campus? And there's also considerations about, are you looking for a particular major? So most colleges will have standard majors like English or economics or psychology and engineering. But if you're looking for something very niche, for example, maybe hospitality management or packaging or dairy management, those things might be very particular that only a few colleges might have. So those are sort of the more of the social considerations that you need to think of when you make a college list. And then there's also the academic aspects of making a college list. So it's very important that you find a college that is right for you academically, because you don't want to be miserable and challenged so much that it's impossible for you to get a degree, but you also don't want to be bored. So I would definitely recommend talking to your counselor and your college advisor, because they have the best information for you to try and figure out where is a good fit for me to apply, where will I fit in academically so that I can make sure that I will graduate and graduate on time. Those are all very important things for making the college list. So I would also say for applying, the sweet spot is around 3 to 5 colleges. If you're applying to more than 10 colleges, that's kind of a waste of time and money, I would say, because college applications can get quite expensive. I've seen application fees up to $75, but generally, like, they're usually free or sometimes $35. If that is a concern for you, talk to your counselor, talk to your college advisor, and see if you might qualify for a fee waiver. Um, but I would say 3 to 5 colleges, because you want to have options. It's kind of impossible to know right now what a college might cost. So you want to put yourself in the best position to be able to have all the options in front of you, compare the costs when you get your award letter, and make sure that you have the best chance possible of getting in and being able to afford it. So definitely 3 to 5. 1 to 2 is too few for in terms of a 4-year university. 10 is too many. And you want to make sure that the colleges that you do apply to are a good mix of schools that a safety school that you know that you could definitely get into, a target school that is like a perfect academic fit for you, and maybe you want to throw in a reach school that you have aspirations of getting into, but you're not really sure if it's a possibility.
Okay. And that's some great information. And it just shows how much actually goes in to considering a college, whether it's something with the commute, or it's a major, or it's a personal fit, because that's somewhere you're going to be investing your time in your your college career at. So there's a lot of things to consider. Talk to me a little bit more. You said safe school, a reach school, and kind of a target school. I know that's a lingo that we hear a lot. And you said to be safe. What do you mean by that?
Right. So a good indication, we used to use the SAT. We're getting away from that now because of circumstances. But you can search online for, use Zello, you can use College Board Big Future, you can talk to your counselor and college advisor and see what a university is expecting out of me in terms of grades and do I fit in with that? Colleges make it very public because they want you to match their current students so that you are not in danger of dropping out. So they will make it very public what their average incoming GPAs are. And their incoming SAT scores, but like I said, that's a little less important now because of COVID. But you can really tell if you would be able to academically fit into that college. So I think trying to place yourself within those parameters. So that's why, a target school is that, like, yeah, I look exactly like their usual incoming freshman class. I have that GPA, I have that PSAT score. A safety school, you might be like, oh, well, I could definitely get in. I'm a little bit over their requirements. And then the target school would be something where, like, you're a little below, you have aspirations to getting to the college, and you think that you merely might enjoy it, but you're not sure if you're a good academic fit. That's more of like reaching for the stars. Definitely go for it. You never know what would happen.
Okay. That's great. And so those three type of schools should all be somewhere within those 3 to 5 schools that I'd be applying to and looking to go at.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's great. But you
And that'll help you, like, really, once you have all the award letters, that'll help you compare costs as well.
Oh, okay. That's great. And then if for some reason I didn't get into one school, I would be able to get in, I'd have these other schools to consider, but knowing that they're the perfect fit for me based on my research. Okay.
Yep.
Well, you touched on another topic, and we had to go back to it because it's a hot topic right now with college admissions. It's the SAT. We know that was postponed in the spring, and across the country right now, it's a fluid situation. As I said at the beginning, the college admission process is changing for the class of 2021, and some are optional. Some are saying if you have a score, that's great, but it's not going to hurt you, but it could help you. Talk to me a little bit more of, without the SAT, you're starting to hear more about the importance of the application, the essay, and then overall some other things that apply.
Yeah. So do you want me to go through how the process works normally?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. So just so we're all, like, a basic understanding of how to apply to a four-year university. Normally you would go to the school's website and there's always an apply now button, or maybe you have to go to admissions and apply. You might have heard of the Common App, which is an application that you can apply to multiple colleges. Some colleges in Michigan only accept the Common App, like the University of Michigan, and some colleges in Michigan aren't even on the Common App, so it just sort of depends. But that's another tool that you can use to apply to college. But they ask you some general information about yourself, so they'll ask you contact information, activities that you did in school, leadership roles that you've held, and then they ask for an essay. And so not all colleges in Michigan require that you complete the essay, and some do, and some, like the University of Michigan, require that you complete 4 essays. So it varies by school. But because of COVID, a lot of universities will not have your SAT score, and they're expecting you not to have them, and that's totally fine with them currently. But that just means that the information that they don't have, or that they do have about you, is going to be a lot more important than it was in previous years. So those essays are very, very important now. Same thing with, like, there's usually a supplemental section of the application that allows you to add information about if you had a bad semester because of a health issue or a family circumstance that you want to explain. There's an opportunity to do that. If you want to add a portfolio of artwork that you've done, if you're particularly proud of, like, a science project that you completed and you're going into a STEM major, you can add maybe like a really awesome lab report that you wrote, or a science project award. So, like, additional information that you think would help your application, they allow you to put into the application before you submit it. And generally they didn't really receive a lot of supplemental materials for students, but now they're taking a closer look at all of those items because they don't have your SAT scores. So the essay and all those supplemental materials that you think that will improve your application would definitely be helpful this year.
Wow, that's great. So to kind of summarize, and then for my own understanding, then the essay, is really in all that other information about yourself and your character and how, what you did throughout your secondary career will take the place of SAT scores this fall?
Yeah, and I'm excited about this change because I think that we should be getting away from sort of condensing a student down to how well they did on a test, because that doesn't necessarily affect how students will do in life or how intelligent they are. But colleges are now looking for you to express passion in something or grit. So they already know when you submit your application what leadership positions you held, your grades, what classes you took, what activities you did. They know all these things on paper, so now they're looking for you to tell them, who are you not on paper? What qualities do you have? What are you passionate about? What is something that they don't know about you?
Thank you so much, Caitlin. That's a lot of information and some great information, not only for the audience, for myself as well. As I mentioned, these updates and changes are happening real time right now. I feel like every time I log onto the internet, I'm seeing these articles coming out in different areas that are talking about the changes that are happening as we speak. So thank you so much for joining us. We're going to move over to our next presenter, and then Caitlin, we'll come back to you for some Q&As, because I'm sure there's going to be some questions for you in the end. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, our next presenter, let me get his all set here. Paul, I just got to unmute your screen here. Let me get, all right, there it is. All right, Paul, sorry about that. I had you on video, but I couldn't get your video or your audio going. So Paul, thank you so much for joining us. Paul's the assistant director of admissions at our local community college, St. Clair County Community College, and good friend of mine, been working together for many years. Many of you may know Paul as well, as he does a freelance writing for the timesherald.com, as well as the MHSAA. Honestly, I lean on Paul tremendously for our admissions expert, especially when it comes to community colleges. And he's always lending his expertise and advising to not only students that go to SC4, but also for any St. Clair County student that's looking at college, university, whether it's 2, 4, or a community college. So, Paul, thank you for joining us this evening. We just had a presentation from Caitlin talking a little bit about not only the four-year university, but also the changes she's seen from being a college advisor standpoint, as well as now at U of M. What is really the admissions process? I know that college admissions process may seem the same, but it's a little bit different when we talk about universities and community college. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, mine's much shorter, but really, for us at SC4, and obviously as you're looking at colleges, wanting to make sure that we're the right choice, that we have the right program, that we have classes that transfer to the school that you want to go to. Typically the answer is yes with that last one. So that, as far as looking into the college, a lot of the stuff is the same, right? As far as trying to figure out if it's the right fit. But once you've made the decision, it's actually a pretty simple, quick process at the community college level. So for us, you fill out the application. The application is free. We have exactly 4 less essays than the University of Michigan, which means you have 0 essays that you have to fill out. So it's mainly a demographic look at, our students coming in. You are accepted when you apply. And then after that, we have a few steps that we want you to go through in a normal year. So the second step we always tell students, and while it is not required, it's highly recommended, is filling out your financial aid forms. And I don't want to get too much into that. I know that's your next panel. But then assessment testing, and that is one I think we're going to talk about a little bit more here, because that, obviously, you talked about the SAT changes. There's changes at the community college level with that too. After assessment testing, it's meeting with an academic advisor. And then once you've met with that advisor, then you're free to register for classes. You can do that. And once you register, as long as you're in the registration period, you're in, and you start the classes when they start. And I guess the one other thing that I should mention about that is we're rolling admissions. Like you can apply at any point during the year. for us. So we've had people who have applied for fall 2021 way back in June, and we had people who applied for fall 2020 in August. So, I mean, it really is, you can apply as long as the semester hasn't started or as long as there's classes still to come, you can apply.
That's great. And thank you. You know, you can see the difference, you know, just out of that description, Paul. So much as I talked about with Caitlin, you know, the pandemic in the spring hit and it really changed the admissions process. And how much did it change for you guys in the spring?
It changed a lot. We actually basically waived every enrollment step past application to registration because we weren't able to bring people on campus to take the Accuplacer exam, which is one way to assess, and we weren't able to have them meet with an advisor really regularly. Like, we ended up coming up with solutions for those things, but at first we were in the middle of registration basically when this all hit for fall. So that was what we did. Now, one of the new things that you can do is self-assess. And with our placement testing, typically it has been the SAT, and we use your SAT scores not to get you into college, but to figure out which English and math class you're going to take. If you didn't have SAT scores, you could take the Accuplacer test on campus. It does the same thing. Now we have a self-assessment option that was used for this fall. It's actually being used again for this winter. It turns out that our math instructors actually really like it, so there's a chance that it's going to be in place moving forward. But those are more options. So that was really the biggest change, is the assessment testing. And then once we got a really good advising plan online, probably about like May, that is something that we, even though it was a waived part of the process, we still really recommend that you meet with an advisor to help plan out what you're going to do, not just at SC4, but what you're going to do when you leave us, because they are experts in our degrees. They are experts in transfer programs and things like that. I know personally, when I went to college, I went to Central Michigan. I tried to self-advise my way through it. And I got to when I thought I was going to be applying for graduation, and I had to stick around for an extra semester. So everybody in my family was really excited about that. So I do not recommend self-advising. Definitely meet with one of our advisors. It's a big step, even though it's not technically required right
now. That's great. So Paul, talk to me a little bit more, because those are two terms, as I did with Caitlin, the Accuplacer, self-assessment. And don't worry about that. I'm with you too. The self-assessment that I did at the university I attended, you know, was a little off until I met with my advisor. So those two terms, I'm a senior in the class of 2021 in not only St. Clair County, but somewhere else in the state or maybe in the Midwest. And I'm going to look at SC4 as one of my schools I'm applied to. Those two terms are going to be very important for me next fall, correct?
They are. And so the big thing is we've talked about, obviously, the changes with the SAT and not being able to take them, right? So if you don't have those scores, the way that we've always done it was you could come to SC4, come to our testing center, and take a test that's really testing where you're at in English and math. And that's all it is. It's not, again, it's not like if you don't get a certain score, you don't get in. It's just, do you place into English 101 right away? Do you place into, an intermediate algebra or a calculus, that type of thing? So that's what the Accuplacer test is. It's a free test that we offer at the school. We are offering that again. Our testing center is now open. The self-assessment portion of the testing allows you to look through like what you would go through. It's more than a course description for those English and math classes. It really talks about kind of themes that they go into to give you an idea of if you're ready for it or not. But it also kind of lays out, like, if you got a B or higher in the last English class you took in high school, then consider taking English 101. If you didn't, consider these classes. Same with math. Right? So we lay it out. It's on our website. And that's kind of what we're finding is it's not a bad way to do it, because as Caitlin said, we're not always getting exactly what people are as a student from that standardized test, right? So whether that's the SAT or the Accuplacer. So if they can self-assess based on what they did in high school, the classes they took in high school, again, we're finding, and it's very early in the semester, but we are finding that it's been pretty good, and it's been a good tool. So we are excited about that and the way that it's working.
Well, I think it's great, Paul. And I remember when I was a high school senior, and it's just that unknown. And if you're a first generation student in your family going, there's so many unknown, but it sounds like those two items really help, ease that anxiety, especially with the changes that are going on right now this fall, to make that transition, that seamless transition to a post-secondary credential, a degree, or a 2-year degree.
Yeah, we think so. And that's the big thing is you want to make sure that you're into that right level when you start out, because we don't want you to come in, jump into a math class that's too high for you and get discouraged or get a grade that's going to set you back in a way. Sometimes if you place into English 075 that just says that, you need a little bit more work on that right now before you jump into the college level English. And we found that students that can do that go through that class and complete it, they're better prepared for that English 101 when they get into it. And then just to kind of build on that, not only are we assessing you as you're coming in, your advisor, when you meet with them, is really going to go through and they'll help you look at some of those strengths and weaknesses that you might have and the types of classes that you should take to help fit that. So we really are trying to set you up and put you in the best place when you start with us.
Well, thank you so much, Paul, for that great description of not only St. Clair County Community College, but also the college, the community college arena, how it's different than the four-year university. Paul, once again, as I said to Caitlin, we're going to roll forward with this presentation, and then I'll come back to you with a Q&A. So, folks, I know you have a lot of questions that are developing right now. If, once again, you put your cursor down, put them in the chat, you can say, Paul, I have a question about that testing or the admissions process for next fall for a community college, or even direct it towards Caitlin or even myself. We're here to answer your question. So now that we have that, we have a four-year university perspective, we have a community college perspective, you're probably asking yourself, that's a heck of a lot of information. Where do I go from here? And one of the things that we want to be able to do is provide you information, updates to go back to your local districts and start these college applications. And where do I start? And I tell you, it's going to start tomorrow when you return to your school day. At St. Clair County, we're very fortunate to have college advisors. We have 5 of them. Just as Caitlin, once again, was a tremendous partner of ours at KPAC High School for 2 years. We have them located, once again, in Port Huron High, Port Huron Northern, Memphis High, Algonac High School, and Yale High School. Not only do we have these tremendous college advisors, we also have your guidance counselors and the counselor network that are all there right now for you, regardless of what your district's plan is, to get you started moving forward with these updates and information and getting those applications started. Somebody asked me the other day, a dear friend of ours, family friend, said, when should I be applying for school? And I said, honestly, right now. We need to start the process now. Start the research. Start thinking about it. Don't wait until we get closer to spring. I know Paul said they have that rolling enrollment period, but that's great. But the further you put that off, the longer it's going to be until you get those admissions applications, whether you got in or you didn't get in. And then it's going to be, the decision process will be prolonged as well. Here's a contact information for these college advisors. This is also on the Blue Water College Access Network website that I'll detail here shortly. So this is our first step of our Fall Essentials webinar series to help you seniors, class of 2021 that are on this webinar right now. We launched this Monday. It went out to all the districts, to our community partners, as well as our social media outlets and email outlets, as we put together a 6-part checklist for you seniors to start the process tonight. We're at step 1 currently. If you're on this webinar, you're already ahead of the game. These are all the items that are on there. This is for the fall. If we could get to this by Thanksgiving, you are in great pace towards your post-secondary plans, whether for a career or college, whether it's 2-year or a 4-year university, or whether it's attending a community college like SC4. Our second step on the checklist, and also the second of our 4-part series for the Fall Essentials webinar series, is the free application for federal student aid, otherwise known as FAFSA. We're going to talk about the myths, the facts, the process. This is actually 1 week from this evening, September 30th, next Wednesday from 7 to 8 o'clock. Now, this process is a scary one. It scares a lot of people, but it's not that scary. And what we're going to try to do is break it down, get you started with a process. This will be another webinar that the students you should be on as well as your parents, because we're going to give you the information, because the next day it actually opens. The FAFSA opens up next Thursday, and the sooner you get the application done to that start date, the more access you have to grants and free aid for attending colleges. We have a new website, Blue Water College Access Network, put together this summer, and it is really the one-stop shop, the hub. My partner, Rachel Verche, that's actually on here, is going to take control of the Q&A period. What designed this, it has everything that you need, the webinars, the events where you can register, and Paying for College answers a lot of questions that we may have after this webinar. This is our one-stop shop for everything that goes out, including the recording of this webinar. If you scroll down, it sees right there, subscribe to receive career and college information. We have our Blue Water College Access Network newsletter that was newly created over the summer as well, that goes out to everyone. It has resources and updates. You can sign up for this. It's once a month and gives you all the updates, much like Caitlin and Paul just described. So now that we're getting to the Q&A part of this evening, we're going to move over, and I'm going to get Rachel's microphone unmuted here, and she's going to ask the audience and give Paul, Caitlin, or myself some of the questions that have been coming up through the app. So Rachel, thank you so much for joining us. It's good to see you again, and we're ready for the questions.
Hi, great to see everybody. I hope you can hear me. Are you able to hear me?
We can hear you, Rachel.
Okay. I haven't seen any questions roll in, so I'm watching the chat box, but I do want to point out we have one of our new college advisors who joined us this evening. And for those of you that are here from Port Huron High School, he is here in the house with us. So if you didn't already know about him, please warmly welcome Brandon Wardlow to your school. So if I still don't see any questions rolling in.
That's okay, Rachel. I actually had a couple emailed me today, so I was gonna give them the opportunity first. Is that okay if I ask these? All right, well, this one is gonna go to Caitlin because of that dreaded essay topic once again. So Caitlin, I'm gonna put you on the spot here with the essay. You hear often about storytelling and an essay. Talk to me a little bit about that, because there's actually some organizations that offer webinars and other information, and I keep hearing this thing about storytelling and essays.
Yeah, so actually I was helping 10 students with admissions essays this week, so it's fresh in my mind and also has been driving me crazy. But so it's really important that you tell the admissions people a story. These are real people that read your essays. It gets a little tedious if you just have essays that have I phrases of I did this and I did this and I was the president of this. We already know that from your application. So you really want to tell us a story that we don't know about you and really make it a narrative, like catch our attention. Admissions people read these, read hundreds of essays each week. And if you work for the University of Michigan, we have 4 to go through. So it makes it extra tedious if you aren't telling us an engaging story. We really are interested in your lives and we want to hear about them, and we want especially to hear about something that we've never heard before. It's also all right if you have like a story that we hear quite often. That's important as well. As long as you're telling us a quality about yourself, or we really wanted to see that you have passion for something. I would also suggest, it's not the time to pull out the thesaurus and try to use words that you don't know. Admissions people know how high schoolers write, and so it's okay if it's in a conversational tone. I would say just write how you naturally write. Put something down on paper. and then clean it up afterwards. But we're not looking for $5 words. We're just looking for you to express yourself, how you naturally express yourself, as long as we can read it. I think it's also important that you answer the prompt. You would be so surprised by how many essays I read this week for my own students that I sent them back for revisions because I was like, this is great, you're going in the right direction, but you actually didn't answer most of the prompt. So that is really, really important. Pay attention to what the prompt is asking you and make sure that you answer everything. So tell us an engaging story. And that would be the best advice I have for you.
Great, Caitlin. That was great. I love how you said that $5 word. That's well said.
Yeah. Oh, I should also mention that, so COVID fatigue is a real thing. It's, if you want to talk about an extraordinary experience that you've had during this pandemic, there is space for you to do that. So I would say, like, the University of Michigan has added a supplemental question if you need to talk about your experiences with COVID. I've seen a lot of other universities add that as well. But I would say in general, avoid talking about it in a personal statement, because it's gonna get overwhelming to constantly read stories about COVID, and I think you would stand out a lot more if you chose to write about something else. But if you do need to talk about it, every university usually has a space for you to talk about it now, because they know that, like, we're experiencing this as well. We know it's important and some students need to talk about it. So that's totally fine.
Thank you so much, Caitlin. I see the chat. Rachel, did I just see something came through, another question?
Yes, there is a question here. Any advice for students with an undecided major? So I think this would be a good question for Caitlin.
Caitlin, you're on the spot again. We lost you there for a second, Caitlin. Did you hear that question, Caitlin? It said, what any advice for a student that's undecided on a major? Oh, I need to unmute you again. Sorry, Caitlin. There we go.
Okay, sorry. So if you are undecided in your major, I might actually suggest that you start at a two-year college, because if you are undecided and you're very, very undecided and you attend a four-year university and you decide that it's not what you want or you're not happy, then you have, half a bachelor's degree. So whereas, if you start at a community college, you have an associate's degree that you can, like, stackable credentials. You can go associate's degree and then you can do bachelor's. So if you're really undecided, I would suggest going to a two-year university. If you are really set on starting at a four-year university, it's okay not to know what your major was. Many people change their major, or, you can go in undecided for a time and explore your options. But I would say that at a four-year university, you're paying a lot of money to explore your options. But if you're set on that, you could just make sure that the university has the field that you want to go into. So I think that most of us, me personally, I don't like science, so I would never choose a university with a very, like, science heavy major that I couldn't find anything that I enjoyed in social sciences or history or something like that. So just make sure that the university has a field that you're interested into. Don't go to Michigan Tech if you're not interested in engineering or, things similar to STEM. Would be my best suggestion. But yeah, definitely I would say start at a community college. I think it'd be most worth your time and money if you're undecided.
That was great, Caitlin. And I'm going to switch over to Paul, because we just had one question, but it also was something that I had a question that was emailed today, and you touched on it, Paul. It was the question around transferring. And we just had Hunter ask, is the application process to transfer to a four-year university from a two-year the same? And you mentioned earlier in your presentation about transfer credits from a community college to a four-year. Could you answer that for us?
Yeah, so the way that it works is, once you make the decision and you've applied then to the four-year school that you want to go to after you were to leave SC4, and if you're accepted, your official transcript would go to them. And then they would look it over, evaluate it, and see what credits officially go in. Like that's the official part of the process. Like we can look at it all the way through. We can look at it the day you come in for that first advising appointment and say, okay, you want to go to Grand Valley, for instance, this, and this transfer into this degree, that kind of thing. So that part of the process is, I mean, I guess it's different, but it's kind of the same in the sense that you have to apply to the school still, to that 4-year school. And not to backtrack, but this kind of works with Caitlin's question, the one that she just answered, as far as if you're undecided. A lot of students, like the easiest path forward for all of us at the community college level and for the student is if you come to us and you know what 4-year school you want to go to. If you come to us as a freshman and say, I want to go to Michigan State when I leave you, then we can completely set you up, whether it's in the Michigan Transfer Agreement, which is general education courses, so like your basic English, your basic math, early sciences, histories, things like that. Classes that will transfer with you to a 4-year school in Michigan. We can put you in those because they're very generic and they will go anywhere. Or we can put you in specific classes that will go to that 4-year school that you want to go to. Like we can start to branch out from the MTA, Michigan Transfer Agreement, and get you more of those. If you don't know, if you are completely undecided when you come to us, we can start you on that more general path because we know these classes are going to transfer to a majority of the schools that we work with and the majority of the schools that you want to go to. So like we have a lot of students that come to us are undecided. Like that is not uncommon at all. So it is a really good way to do it. And like Caitlin mentioned, it will save you a lot of money. But we can put you on a path that's not going to slow you down. It's not going to cost you more money. It's going to get you moving in the right direction toward that 4-year school, even if you don't know right away. And then you can kind of toy with, oh, I didn't realize that I like political science this much. And then you go that way. Or I really don't like psychology, like something like that. Those are things that you can learn as you go, kind of going through that Michigan Transfer Agreement at the community college level, because they're credits that will transfer and they're not going to cost you as much money.
Wow, that is great. Thank you so much for that. That was a great explanation. A very tough topic of transfer credits. And then honestly, that was a great question too on the undecided. That's a very big topic for seniors to struggle with and where to go from there. And Caitlin mentioned it's that stackable credentials of moving from one post-secondary level to another. So thank you so much, Paul. Rachel, I think I'm going to unmute you again. I think we had another great question come through.
We wanted a little bit of clarification about the best time to apply for college.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go right back to Paul with that, and then back to Caitlin. So, Paul, you're on the spot again, and then we'll go to Caitlin.
So for us, the best time to apply, I think, would be in a typical time frame that you would think, or like in the fall, just to set yourself up the best for moving forward. Because you talked about the FAFSA date, Nick. It is October 1st. If you can get everything in place, even at the community college level, so you are ready to register when like that registration period opens, and it's not until April. So I know it sounds crazy, but it's still getting stuff in place for us and getting yourself to the front of the line, really. That's just going to put you in a better spot, because if you can register right away when that registration opens, if you have all of that stuff done, then you're going to get into the classes that you need. You're going to get the times that you need those classes, all of that stuff. So the earlier, the better. That being said, at the community college level, I mean, obviously we get a lot of late deciders. And so people who have waited or, have decided, well, this year, a lot of people who decided, I don't want to take online classes across the state of Michigan, I will take them here. And so we were able to get them in late. So the ideal time is starting to apply like in the fall, mid-late fall. And so you get yourself ready for when April comes around. But, we do accept as you go all the way through.
And now, Caitlin, from a 4-year university, Paul gave a great description of it's that rolling period. So, but fall would be ideal. At the U of M and any other 4-year universities that, you're looking at, what would be the good time period to apply?
Yeah, so for most four-year universities, we don't have rolling admissions really. It's really best to apply as soon as possible and early fall. So applications for all Michigan universities are open right now. So I would say like start and make your accounts, start filling out the information, and then work on your essays and all the supplemental information that you want to add. But it's really important that you do so, now between now and I would say, Thanksgiving break is really the sweet spot for applying to a four-year university, because if you apply too late, you're gonna push back a lot of these important deadlines. So you wouldn't get your award letter until way later, and so you wouldn't know how much it costs, and you wouldn't be able to compare. So it would just save yourself the headache to do it now. And then I would say, like, the earlier you do it, the earlier a university can get you a decision back. So without COVID, I would say that if you applied in October, which is like a great month to apply to college, a lot of universities will waive their application fee and make it free to apply in college, because October is Michigan College Month. If you applied in October, I would say normally a university could get you a decision back within a month. It might be a little pushback now because of COVID and we don't have SAT scores, so we're now having to dig deeper into students' applications to figure out if they would be a good academic fit. But definitely the earlier the better. Save yourself a headache and do it now.
And Caitlin, one thing I would like just to backtrack a little bit is the transfer piece, transferring credits, being at a four-year university. How is that part of the admissions process? So if I'm at a community college right now, maybe SC4, and I'm applying to a four-year university, what's that look like?
There's a special process if you're transferring in from a two-year university. So sometimes, like in the application, it'll ask you if you're transferring, and then it gives you different prompts. You usually meet with a transfer coordinator just to make sure that all of your classes are transferring. And then they don't pay attention to your high school grades anymore. It's now what you did at the community college that matters for admissions. And so you're also eligible for different scholarships. Oh, that's another thing to mention for why do college admissions early, is because of scholarships. So four-year universities have scholarship deadlines. So, for the University of Michigan, it's November 15th. For MSU, I think it might be December 1st, but don't quote me on that. But a lot of more competitive universities will have scholarship deadlines. So if you don't apply by that date, they won't consider you to get academic scholarships. And there's a lot of money in that. So you don't want to miss out on that. But transferring, you meet with a transferring advisor. And I would say it's really important in those cases to really treat your academic advising sessions, even at the community college level, as like a health doctor appointment checkup. Really, like, Paul mentioned earlier that he had to stay for an extra semester at CMU because he didn't visit his advisor, and I did the same thing at MSU. So definitely meet your advisor. Just make sure that you're on track and that your credits are going to transfer.
Thank you, Caitlin. That's another great addition to the transfer topic. So we got a lot of great information. Honestly, it's a lot of information for the students and the families. Oh, we have one more. I was going to squeeze it before the scholarship drawing, but looks like we had one more come in there. I'm going to go ahead and just read this one.